Hi. Okay, this is my first video. Fourth attempt. It's very weird talking into a video camera. My office. I chose a particularly safe topic to talk about for the first couple videos. We're going to talk about cross-training today. This is a question I was asked by a parent, and I've been asked a few other times. We're going to deal with specifically cross-training related to skating. If you're interested in pursuing skating and increasing your potential, learning ability, acceleration in skating, what kind of cross-training should you be looking to do? For those who don't know what cross-training is, I kind of just explained it. It's doing a bunch of different sports that enhance the qualities that you want to help you with your main sport. It can also just be doing a bunch of different sports to gain a well-rounded set of skills, but that's not what we're usually referring to when we mean cross-training. We mean doing another sport to enhance a first sport, a main sport. So there are 4 things in skating that are required components of skating that aren't necessarily developed as well by skating alone. The first and easiest to deal with is musicality. It's generally very helpful for a skater to have a musical instrument, a violin, piano, voice, guitar, drums, whatever, just so they have some understanding of the terminology involved in music, tempo, especially tempo. The sign of a good competitive skater is the ability to change tempo and express different types of rhythms, type of music, and you get that mostly through an understanding of music. Also, phrasing, 3/4 time, 2/4 time, what phrasing is a waltz in, what timing is a waltz in, various things like that all help. This doesn't help until basically they start doing dance, so not particularly for Learn to Skate or Can Skate programs. This is beyond that. And they don't need a particularly in-depth understanding musicality, just enough to get the terminology and some of the basic phrases and understanding down. So it's not something that needs to continue if you start being pressed for time. I would say, between 5 and 10, 5 and 8, it's very helpful after that. It's still helpful, but it becomes less helpful over time. Second cross-training you should be looking at is flexibility, definitely. And again, this pretty heavily early on, and you generally get this through programs that specifically have flexibility developing programs. Gymnastics, ballet, and diving are the 3 that come to mind. You'd have to look in your area to see which of those 3 actually develops flexibility better. Some programs are not equal to others. Some ballet programs are not the same as other ballet programs. Some diving programs are not the same as other diving programs. But generally, most skating programs don't contain a flexibility component that's really helping increase and evolve your flexibility beyond the norm. In order to do that in skating, often we get into sport-specific activities where you actually do stretches that you practice on your own time at home to increase hip and whatever flexibility and strength, to make spirals better, camel spins better, flying camel spins better, and eventually get into more complicated moves, hair cutters, Bielmans, split spirals, split jumps, all stuff like that. Not necessary in skating, but continuing to have good flexibility is also a good injury prevention method. If you don't have good flexibility, and the act of skating and jumping alone, once it starts getting explosive, will decrease your flexibility over time unless you have something that you're doing to counteract that, even if it's just really good warm-ups and cool-downs. But most people at lower levels, especially around here, don't tend to get into that, so it's generally helpful to have a second sport to do that. Done. The third thing, and really the last thing I really need to mention, is aerobic cardio. Which you don't get at all from skating, at all from solos, and is a huge component of skating that you're just not going to develop through skating alone. The only way you would develop through figure skating is by having half-hour stroking sessions with a coach that really pushes you hard for the whole half hour to get your heart working properly the whole time, keep your heart rate up. Currently, none of the skating programs in Halifax do that or have that. And even when I did it in Labrador, I did it once a week, which had huge benefits, but it didn't really do as much for cardio as it should have and could have. I mean, it would be greatly beneficial for the health and well-being of these skaters and make them into better athletes instead of just skaters if we enforce that 2 or 3 times a week. But since they don't get it from skating and they need it from skating, it helps to join sports like long-distance running, most track and field events, long-distance swimming, cross-country skiing, and hockey. Because team sports like hockey and soccer especially, you end up doing a lot of running, sometimes basketball. So they're all very, very good at enhancing your aerobic capacity, which is the ability of your heart to pump oxygenated blood to the muscles to keep them functioning regularly over a long period of time. The only problem with aerobic capacity is it's not particularly useful for skating really in any capacity whatsoever. We actually use anaerobic capacity. The aerobic system doesn't kick in until about the 2 to 3 minute mark, which is when you're done your solo. So it kicks in right about when you're finishing your performance. What you actually need is anaerobic capacity, which is what keeps your muscles functioning at reasonably good effectiveness up to the 2 minute, 3 minute mark until the aerobic system kicks in. The problem with developing an anaerobic system is you need a strong aerobic system before you can work the anaerobic system. So we kind of have to go through this system that we don't need in order to work on a system that we do need. And you work on the anaerobic eventually through sprinting, fast explosive movements. Speed skating would be an awesome cross-training method for that. I can't really think of, I guess basketball maybe, something like that. But you almost have to get, by the time you get into good anaerobic training, you almost have to get sport-specific to start having a particular individualized training method in order to improve that to the degree that you want it to be improved, that you need it to be improved to excel at skating more. And the last, which I'm not really going to get into, is strength. Let's see if I can keep this video under 10 minutes. Obviously skating heavy skating, explosive skating is going to work your leg muscles, all your leg muscles, your hip muscles, your glutes, everything else. But to jump and hold positions in the air and hold spiral positions and have good aesthetics and form and line, you also need a really strong core and some upper body strength, which skating really doesn't develop at all by itself. So those are things you really need to cross-train to get a better handle of. Again, diving would be excellent. If we had an excellent diving program around here, I would strongly recommend it. I don't know if we do, but diving works the core heavily. I think ballet works the core usually pretty heavily. Most off-ice dance classes do, if they're decent, if they're not completely recreational. What else would you do for strength training? I almost think when you start thinking strength training, instead of getting into cross-training, you need to get into sport-specific, actually doing crunches at home and various things like that. But I will say that you can get pretty rock-hard abs just by various cross-training through a bunch of sports. Hockey players tend to be extremely physically and cardiovascularly fit, as well as good skaters, so I think it's an excellent cross-training method. Gymnastics tends to work everything across the board except maybe aerobics, so that's another excellent cross-training method. Generally, every sport you do that you cross-train with is going to add something to your skating. The only exception I can think to that is equestrians, and I don't think anyone would try to ride horses to accentuate their figure skating. That wouldn't make any sense. Anyway, hopefully that answers some questions about cross-training. The thing to remember is when you're developing at younger, lower levels, the cross-training that you need to look after, that you need to do to enhance your skating is different than when you're getting into the mid 12, 13-year-old national level skating and when you're getting into the high-level international skating at 15, 16. You totally have to revitalize your routine every couple of years. Basically every year you should probably revisit things and reanalyze things and see if you're getting what you need and what you're not getting. I guess that's it. That's my first video. Just over 10 minutes. Bye.